All right, well, welcome everybody. It is March 11th, our second round of the West Central Food Policy Council webinar. Let me share my screen with you real quick so you can see. So, can everyone see this okay? Perfect. All right, so we are here. It is March 11th. Today we're going to be talking about small-scale animal products and then some direct marketing. So we have four fantastic farmers who are joining us today who will be sharing their stories about their own farms, and we will introduce them in just a moment. Next couple of weeks, we have our small scale fruit and vegetable production and community focus coming up, and then regional aggregation methods. If you haven't registered for those already, you can find the link to do so here, and we can also put that in the chat so it's easier to access for folks. But my name is Olivia, and myself and Megan, and then Jason, who's also, I believe, on this call. We are all part of the West Central Minnesota Food Policy Council and want to share a little bit about that with you so you know more of what we do and who we are. The Food Council is pretty new. It's about a year and a half old. We started and really came about as a result of this regional food systems plan that people did the research, created this food systems plan in West Central Minnesota, so including the counties of Becker, Ottertail, Clay, and Wilkin. Our vision overall is really to create healthy regional food networks, healthy local food systems within our areas, be able to support locally produced food, economic viability for our communities and our farmers, and really supporting sustainable farming practices as well. So our council meets monthly. The public is welcome to join if any of you are interested ever in sitting in on one of these meetings. We would love to have you there. We have also three subcommittees within this food council. So we have food security, urban agriculture, and marketing local foods. The urban agriculture is the committee that is putting this webinar on. So we are all part of that committee. If you are interested in learning more about the Food Council, you can find us at our website, which is listed on the screen, and we can also put that in the chat for you as well. It's the mnfoodcouncil.org. Within the Urban Ag Subcommittee, we have a few goals that we are working to achieve. These include increasing more residential gardens, so getting people more connected to their food, where their food comes from, being able to grow it themselves. And then for those who want to take the step further, increasing the number of folks farming part-time, increasing the number of folks farming full-time, really providing resources and all sorts of things needed in order to support successful farming operations, whatever these might look like in all of their different forms. So hydroponics, deep winter greenhouses, community orchards, livestock, produce, whatever it is that folks are interested in. And then we also are here to provide resources to the public, which is part of what this webinar helps with. If you are curious and want to learn more, you can contact Scott, who is one of our subcommittee members, and his email is here on the screen. So the Urban Ag Committee from the Food Policy Council is putting this on, but we are also sponsored by the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. We had received a climate action grant from them, and this is for the whole council. So the things that we're working towards within this grant are strengthening local food aggregation through farmers markets and food hubs, reducing food waste through a variety of food recovery initiatives, and then also putting on the Sustainable Agriculture series here. As many of you may already be aware, local food production is fantastic when it comes to climate-friendly agriculture practices. You're supporting local economies. Oftentimes, these local foods have to travel far less to get to where you are, so there's that reduced carbon footprint from that, less energy usage. And you're supporting these local economies, you're supporting diversified farms, and really helping to preserve soil health, biodiversity, and all of your community members in this at the same time. So the farmers that we have with us today, we have Becky Hafner from Hafner Family Farm, Judd Fiskness from Fiskness Family Farm, Joel Haugen from Acres of Eden, and Joel Hendrickson from 10 Fins Dairy. So as all of them are going to take a few minutes and they're going to have their time and they're going to talk about what it is that they do. If you have any questions throughout, please use the Q&A function below. That way we can keep track of all of those questions in one spot. And when the farmer is done talking, they can type out an answer in that Q&A section. They can respond to you there, or we can come back to it at the end and they can answer it live. You won't have the ability to unmute, so if you have a question, this is going to be the best place to put it. Please also mark which farmer you are asking your question to, just so we can keep everything straight. If you have any other questions or concerns that come up, those can all go in the chat, but Q&A, we can put all of our questions there. And then finally, before we get going, At the very end of this, we'll have a very short evaluation that we would love for you to fill out just so we can hear what you got from this, any sort of feedback that you have, and then things, we'll be able to share this with our funder as well to really help show what folks got out of this. So without further ado, let's get going. Becky, you're welcome to take it away.
Okay, can hear me now. So I'm Becky Hafner, and I'm an owner of Hafner Family Farm, and we're by Eagle Bend. I farm with my husband, 5 kids. We have one part-time employee. We bought our farm in 2013. Just tell you a little about our farm. We farm 800 acres of corn, soybeans, rye, alfalfa, other forages. We're a water quality certified farm. We use some cover crops. We do minimal fall tillage. Um, we're pretty diversified, so we also have 400 ewes. Those are mostly hair sheep. We rotationally graze our ewes. We have a small flock of registered Columbias as a hobby. We have 50 British white cows, an Angus cross, and we direct sell 40 beef every year. Those are raised on pasture. We feed non-GMO and transitional organic grains, no hormones, antibiotic free. We raise 70 Berkshire pigs every year. We buy feeder pigs from a friend, trusted farmer. Those are raised outside on dirt. We feed the same as our cattle, the non-GMO and transitional organic. Yeah, we raise most of the crops that we feed. We do buy transitional organic soy meal. Um, and our goal with our farm was to raise animals humanely and have a living wage for our family. So I'll just talk about getting started. I'm just going to share the things we did that made us successful to maybe help you. So getting started, the first thing I think is important is to know the laws and be legal. I guess I don't know how to do my next slide. Oh, here. Okay. So just for us, I just contacted the MDA, got legal. We started out with a wholesale license, and probably 2 years we switched to a mobile retail license. That's important. I think consumers will trust that your meat is safe, and they trust that you're, handling food correctly and that you're honest. And then selling meat to the consumer requires transparency. For us, we use Facebook, Instagram, our website, newsletter to share our story and how we raise our animals. And people have questions, I answer all questions. And then something that I think people don't put as much effort into is picking out your butcher. Our farm, we have two butchers like 10 miles from our farm, and we tried out both and we settled on one. So we use a state inspected butcher. And um, a tip I have is I schedule all my appointments for the whole year, and I raise my animals to fit my appointments. So I have those on hand, and I'll always have meat to sell to customers. And I also try to be my butcher's favorite customer. I drop off my animals on time. I pick up my meat. I give them my cut instructions. I don't complain. If a customer has a complaint with my meat, I don't pass that on to my butcher typically. I fix it on my end so I don't have to bother my butcher. And then we also decided how we would sell our meat. We started out wholesale. We sold to restaurants, co-ops, like an online market. And we started retail at the same time, but as time went on, we decided that we liked selling direct to customers. For us, there was more like customer loyalty. Um, there was less like basically competition. Like if a restaurant or co-op has another farmer come in with a cheaper price, well, then we get kicked out and they're buying their meat. So I just like to have more control of who I'm selling to and my price. So we sell mobile retail now, and we also sell at farmers markets. Let's see. Can you do my next slide? Okay, there. Okay, so selling at farmers markets, just some tips that have worked for us. Like we have a clear signage and display of what you're selling. You can see my market van there. I actually traded like $1,700 of hay to my neighbor for this old van. And I don't know if I've had it 8 years and cost me hardly anything, and I haven't done anything to it. So I'll have clear display signage. Like at our farmers market, I do notice most people are there for vegetables and don't even know what, like walk by us and don't know what we're selling. So I add a banner at the top that says farm to table meats. That was the cheapest way to get a sign up. I mean, some people maybe print on their canopies, but that's expensive. And then like I just have a little sign with our pictures of our animals, which pretty much draws people in. And I just try to be clear in what we're selling, but it's kind of a simple display. Um, Also, I keep my meat in freezers in that van. You can probably kind of see behind my son. I have two freezers in my van to make it really simple. So my van is plugged in at home, runs on a power inverter on the way to the market, and then I plug in at my markets. And so when I get home from market, I can just restock my freezers and I'm ready for my next market. I do have a walk-in freezer. You can see on the right where I store all my meat when that's not in my vehicle. Um, I try not to use coolers at the market. Just legally, you're not supposed to have meat in coolers longer than 4 hours. So I bring one cooler of ground beef usually, and I can just keep that in my walk-in and just pull it out when I'm gonna go. And as my freezers deplete, I can just put it in the freezer. I just feel like customers feel safer buying meat out of a freezer, and I'm following the laws, and it looks more professional. Um, Also just make your display easy. Like I said, I keep my freezers in the van. I plug in my van. I keep all my table signs, everything in my van ready to go. Because basically, if you're selling meat, you're busy farming when you're not selling meat, so you don't have a lot of time to mess with things. And then the other thing at the market I think helps you stand out is if you just have a personality. I'm more outgoing. My husband is like quiet and doesn't is less outgoing. So I typically do the markets and I just kind of like be honest, share who I am, and I'm a little quirky, people like that. So my husband just fills in when I can't be there. And people do like meeting him and getting to know him when he fills in. On my next slide. I guess I will talk about challenges if you're going to direct market meat. The first is telling your story. For people to buy from you, basically they're buying your story. And somebody told me this one time, basically you're telling a story, which is true. They can go buy this, whatever labeled meat at the grocery store. Why should they buy from you? So, so to have somebody first purchase from you, they have to hear your story, like your story, make the decision to purchase from you. To have them keep buying, you have to have a quality product that they're going to come back for. So I just share my story on the farm through my Facebook, Instagram. I typically post like just day-to-day life on the farm. I share my life off the farm, like, if my son's graduating, I'll share that. Just little things like that so people get to know us and like us. Just I post positive, interesting things several times a week. Don't post things that aren't interesting. It's just going to get people to not follow your page. I post mostly farm life. I share a few recipes. I limit sales. If your sales posts really don't work, so just post interesting things and hopefully people click onto your website or purchase from that. Another challenge, just being visible. When I first started, someone had told me that it takes like 10 interactions, whether direct or indirect, for someone to purchase from you. So how are they going to find you if you're on a farm? And the downside is it takes one bad interaction for them to never purchase again. So ways to be visible in your community, like I am at farmers markets, the signage on my delivery vehicles, I drive around town. Something you can't control but can encourage is your customers to give you positive reviews and word of mouth. Or like when we sell to a local restaurant, our name will be featured on their website or their menu. I attend a lot of social or chamber events. I'm a part of a couple different organizations that are chamber members, so I'm present at those. I'm a member of a local professional group where I interact with people and tell people about my farm. And I volunteer for booths like Minnesota Grown or different farm booths at growing events or fairs, just to get my face in the community and talk to people. Another challenge is pricing your product correctly. So step one, just know your production cost. The other thing is just be higher price than any store. If you're selling a premium product, price is what kind of people perceive is makes your product premium. And find your sweet spot so you find the right customers you want. You're not getting the fussy ones or the ones looking for a deal. And lastly, just be consistent. When you start out, just try always have like the basics available. I have ground beef, roast steak, bacon, always have those things available. And as you grow, you can add more specialty items. As long as you always have what customers need available, they don't have to go elsewhere. They can be a loyal customer and keep purchasing from you. So that's about what I have.
There we go. Perfect. Thank you, Becky. If for anyone in the audience, if you have questions for her, please type those in the Q&A and then she can, type a response back to you as the others talk. Otherwise, if there are some that are better worth answering live, then we can come back to that at the end. So thank you. And then next we have Jed. Are you able to see the screen well?
I can see it just fine.
Perfect. All right. I'll let you take it away. Let me know when you want to move to the next slide.
Sounds good.
Before you take
Oh,
it away, real quick, I just wanted to add for the speakers, if you click on that Q&A box, it'll come up and you'll see the questions in there, and you can always type in an answer. I don't think we went over that with them yet today, so just want to put that in there. Okay, take it away, Jed. Thank you.
Sounds good. My name is Jed Fisness. I run a multifaceted family farm in Osakis, Minnesota, right in central Minnesota. And it's been a long, complicated story for our farm. I grew up on a dairy farm that switched to row cropping in the 80s due to the financial challenges that we went through at that point, and worked off the farm for a lot of years. I ran a sporting goods retail business for 18 years and was farming a little bit along the side with that. We started out in 2008 and kind of rolled into chickens. We started our farm, I like to joke, we started our farm with 6 hens that actually lived in our living room until I got their chicken coop done. My wife also likes to point that out a lot. I have 3 kids and my wife that help with the farm. My oldest daughter graduated with an agronomy degree last year, and my son is going to school right now for ag business, farm business management. And my youngest daughter is still in high school and is really looking forward to getting into veterinary science. So they're all tied directly into our farm. The older 2 do work part-time for me in the off season and full-time in the summer. So it is really a full family operation. We've rolled into a lot of different products. Currently, poultry, beef, live chicks, replacement laying hens, and farmers markets is kind of what we've rolled into a lot as far as what we've changed into our marketing. We've tried a lot of different stuff. 3 years ago, the storms that rolled through central Minnesota got us and wiped out about 95% of our infrastructure, fencing, buildings, and everything else. So we had to start over and really kind of got to rebuild our farm how we see it fitting currently. Along with all the direct farm stuff, we also operate a small seed business and a very large feed business, dealing with a lot of different farms and helping other farms be successful. It's been a kind of really a long journey, but it's been a lot of fun. Okay, if you want to switch to the next screen. We got started with a couple chickens and started selling a few eggs, and then we started raising our own meat birds and for our own use, and all of a sudden people wanted them. And we've kind of always set the goal of raising a top quality locally produced food that the customers really want to come back for, and we've been quite successful with that. We had a rather large market farm business at one point. The storm changed that drastically, and we're just starting to get back into it. We rebuilt a greenhouse and have a larger high tunnel that's going to be coming up, along with going back into the actual field style market gardening this year, mostly due to customer requests. It has been a wonderful thing to be able to produce a locally produced product that customers come looking for. And that's really changed our marketing strategy as far as how we've gone forward with trying to market our both our animal and vegetable or row crop products. If you want to switch to the next slide. We have always worked with a lot of multiple ways of marketing. Direct sale is a large percent of our business, particularly with our poultry, our market chickens, and our eggs. A lot of that stuff gets sold directly off of the farm, along with the farmers markets generate a lot of leads for us. Farmers markets have really grown as far as ability to get us out in front of people. My youngest daughter really enjoys baking, so she has her cottage food license, and that has been just a hit at the farmers markets. My wife and myself both also really enjoy canning, so we take a lot of our products that we raised in the garden, we turn into products we can sell at the farmers markets, and a lot of times it's stuff that either hasn't sold, isn't as pretty to sell, that kind of stuff. It gives us opportunity to use stuff that we can fit into the markets a little bit better, plus add a really good quality product. We use a lot of older style recipes that people are looking for and that kind of stuff. We also do, of course, wholesale markets. Lately, because we're so busy, we've moved a lot of our egg sales over to a couple of grocery stores. Just rather than trying to manage the egg sales off of the farm, we can move them over to there, and it allows us to have more opportunity and time in order to run with the other stuff we got going that's really busy, which right now is the chick and replacement chick markets. That has gone nuts and turned into a complete full-time job just by itself, along with everything else we got going on. If you want to switch to the next screen. We have a lot of stuff going on the farm, like I mentioned before, and diversity has been a way that has been really successful for us. It allows us to have, if one market is slow or it just isn't working as well for 1 year, we can roll over and rely on something else that's working well. For us, we've kind of built it as starting with the poultry business, rolled into some beef. We did do hogs for a long time, but the storm again changed that. We have a large market goat herd, which that is all direct market or not direct wholesale market or marketed to slaughter plants or independent processors. Tied in with the poultry, we offer the feed. Tied in with the agronomy side, when we got involved with the feed, it rolled into the seed business. We do all of our own poultry processing, which gives us value added to our products and the ability to have extra options on the farm. It's a lot of work, but that way we really control the stuff that's rolling out of the farm as far as quality and everything else. I'm going to roll over to the next screen. Tips can be really tough to come up with, but some of the main things that we figured out from our own farm, and as they say, the school of hard knocks, is be efficient. Find something that you really like to do, but don't grow too quickly. Make sure as you grow into it, you have a market and a way to sell the stuff that you are raising or growing before you have it to go. I work with a lot of customers on the feed side, and I get probably 3 or 4 phone calls a day. I've got this beef animal. Well, beef isn't a big deal now, but pork, chicken, poultry, goats, sheep. It's raised, it's to market weight. How do you recommend I sell it? Well, a lot of times I really rather have people look at on the front end and go, well, I'm going to have this animal ready for market in 4 months. Let's start worrying about how we're going to market it. And that makes you just more efficient and successful in the long run. Planning ahead falls right into that, along with knowing your break-even points. There's a lot of people that when you're getting started, you just want to get going. You want to get everything growing. You want to look at it. And then when you're done, you go, I wonder how much money I have tied up into this. Well, if you figure out before you start with it, anticipated costs, everything has to fall in there. You're never going to know exactly, but it gives you a really good starting point to know going forward what's going to happen with at the end of the season, kind of how everything's going to go. And along with that, I have a lot of farmers that I work with that really, especially on small scale, they're not paying themselves anything. Like Becky mentioned, you need to have a living wage from the farm in order to make it actually work. Along with that, knowing your break-even points lets you know what kind of profit margins you have and if something's going to work. There's a lot of things you can do because you really enjoy doing it. But if it's not going to, on a business side, because the farm really is a business, you need to make sure that all your hard work is actually going to have a payoff in the end, and that you really have everything lined up so that you know what you've got going on financially with the entire operation. And because farms a lot of times don't get looked at as a business. and even small scale. I mean, if you have a small laying flock of 15 birds and you sell eggs to your neighbors, if you're spending a lot of money on feed, you're spending a lot of money on the building for them and everything else. It's really important to know how much it's costing you. Because if you want to do it just for fun, that's one thing. But if you want to try to recap your costs or actually turn it into a business, you really need to look at the bottom line and see what's going on there. You can flip to the next screen. I apologize. I was going to work off of my computer, and my internet's not working at home, so I'm working off of my phone, so everything's a little smaller to see. I really want to thank everybody for the opportunity to come and just do a quick presentation here. I really am involved with the local food idea of eating food that's grown locally and helping farmers be successful. Whether it's with my seed business, with the feed business, with anything that I'm working with other farmers on, I tell them my goal up front is to make you successful. If I can sell you a product that helps, that's great. But I really want people to succeed in farming. Farming is my passion. Local food is becoming more of a passion. And I really want to see people that want to start getting in small scale agriculture or even larger scale agriculture succeed. And I think that's everything I got.
Perfect. Thank you so much. For anyone in the audience, again, if you have questions for Jed, throw those in the chat. And Jed, if at any point you find it, need a hand running through some of those being on your phone, let us know and we can make that happen. All right, Joel, you are up next. Let me know when you want the next slide.
Okay, thanks. Hi, my name is Joel Haugen. Farm here at Acres of Eden with my wife and my 2 daughters, along with a few other hired hands. We raise about 3,000 laying hens, continuing to grow that. We have some organically raised beef. Everything on our farm is certified organic. We also do some row crop, alfalfa, and small grains too. Pretty much everything we raise, we feed back to our animals. Whole goal of the farm is to be circular. If you want to click to the next slide. A little bit, just the background of kind of why I decided to go down this road. The saying, you can take the farmer off the farm, but you can't take the farm out of the farmer is very true. I originally went to college to do architecture, but just couldn't see myself going down that road and living in a big city. I grew up on a farm, and so that always kind of called me back. And actually, my dad's stories, just a little bit about my dad. There's a large generational gap. So my dad was born in 1929. And I was born in 86. And so that generational gap provided stories of me, or when I was growing up, of how he used to farm. And those kind of always stuck with me. And it was a different kind of farming back then. It was very community supported agriculture. And everyone kind of looked out for each other, which is different than today's day. And so with those stories in mind, when I came back to the farm, I started conventionally, but something was kind of missing. I just, I didn't really enjoy it, I guess. I mean, I enjoyed it, but something was missing. And so I started organic, and I, enjoyed that because of the people in the world of organic were very helpful, which was different for me. But even at that stage, I could see corporate kind of coming into that world of organic. And something was still missing. And so I kept looking in more and more into kind of regenerative pasture-based agriculture. And that was kind of my transition from just being a grain row crop farmer and bringing animals on board to actually make my farm a circular, self-sufficient farm, which is where I think agriculture needs to go to be sustainable in the future. And so that is our ultimate goal here, I would say, is to give consumers a source of local nutritious food, as well as farmers a path to profitability while producing that kind of food. And I can talk more about that goal in a later slide, but that's just kind of a little background to why I started. If you want to click to the next slide. A little bit about how I built my customer base. I think it's very important to, when you're thinking about starting something, is you need to solve a problem. And so what is that problem? You need to look at the scope, the size, the demographic, geographic location. All those things need to come in to your decision of what is the problem. So for me, just an example, I believe there was a large shortage of organic pasture raised eggs. And location wise, I knew that the Twin Cities was the best avenue to market to, as well as our town here. We live in Fergus Falls. But the size that I wanted to get to spread the word of this sustainable agriculture, I needed more than just Fergus right now. I'm hoping in the future I don't. So I look to the Twin Cities where the large demand is for that. And that kind of goes into my next thing, which you need to kind of come up with the solution for the problem. And so, taking into account, animal workload and the resources that you have to work with those animals. If you've never worked with beef cows and you're just getting into it, it's a lot of work, and they're large animals, and you have to have the proper equipment to handle them safely. Like with chickens, it's a little easier to get into, but you still need to get that infrastructure set up. I also think it's really important to think about synergy on your farm. How are all these products and animals and crops all working together? I think that synergy is the most important thing to make your farm sustainable and profitable. And then I also kind of, in the back of my head, I don't necessarily like Amazon and its principles, but they still have good business ideas. And I know that Jeff Bezos always, he needed a starter product, and that's why he chose books. It was easy to distribute. He could start it in his garage. And with that in mind, not that I want to ever go to that scale, but with that in mind, I was like, which product am I going to choose here to get this farm going that people really want and are looking for and needing? And so that's kind of where the poultry was the thing that I thought was that first starter product. The other thing is scalability. You always kind of want to not just think of where you are, but kind of be thinking in the future of where you want to be and sizing everything appropriately for that. The other thing of how you build a customer base is you need to tell a story, which Becky talked about too. It's very important. I think consumers, they don't necessarily just want to buy food from you. They want to know how that food was produced and why you are growing the food the way you're growing it. What is your reason for doing what you're doing? And I think then when you explain that to consumers, they really follow you with passion because they also believe in you, what you're doing. So another thing, you need to find partners. You can't do this all by yourself. And so instead of us direct selling everything, needed to find stores to work with. So we went to the Twin Cities and as well as grocery stores here in Fergus and found wholesale markets for our products down there. The other important thing is obviously we need to advertise, but I think it's important to strategically advertise and not just blast everything. So using social media, word of mouth is huge. Events, farmers markets, they're all important to build that customer base and also tell your story. So if you want to switch to the next challenges that we've seen and had. Big with us, like on the production side with pasture raised poultry in this area, is weather. It's definitely a challenge, but I've learned you don't want to work against it. You want to work with it. And so finding ways to work with the weather and have your animals be comfortable, but also productive in that. Another thing that we struggled with was death loss for a while with natural predation was a big deal. And so we've built paddocks and fencing and guard dogs has been important to eliminate, not completely, but get better at the death loss situation. Also, creating new systems. When you're doing this kind of agriculture, there is no like perfect set way of how to do it. And so, with us, we use semi-trailers as the mobile chicken coop. And so you want to kind of start small with whenever you're building new infrastructure and that hasn't been done before, and experiment with it a little bit before you jump full tilt. Let's get 10 semi-trailers or whatever, and get yourself in kind of a pinch because you didn't get all the kinks worked out on the first one, type of thing. Another thing is legal. It is important to do your homework. There's a lot of little I's to dot and T's to cross to make sure that you're following the law and not stepping out of bounds. Funding, another big thing. More is better than not enough. When you're making your plan and you're projecting out and you're trying to figure out what you need for funding for this operation, just always put in a little bit of extra cushion because it's always going to cost more and take longer to do something than what you think. Another important thing is balancing workload. Don't get into this and just forget about your family and your faith. It's very important to keep that as your backbone, keep that motivating you and spending time with them, because the farm can get pretty intensive, and all of a sudden you look back and you're like, what did I just do? And so you want to make sure that faith and family are the most important in your life. Another challenge for me, I'm a farmer. I don't necessarily like managing people. I just like managing myself, but growing and learning how to manage people, I think is extremely important, and how to properly motivate people. So that I would say that's a personal challenge of mine, but not necessarily for everyone. So want to go to the next one. Leading up to this slide, when I talked earlier about a goal to give consumers a source of local food, as well as farmers a path to it, has led to this hub and spoke program that we're going to be coming out with, where it's not just farmer led. There's been a lot of farmer co-ops, farmer organizations that are trying to really promote this kind of agriculture and getting consumers to buy into it, which they are. But I also think at this time, we need to also ask the consumers to help support us in this. And so what we wanted to do is we want to launch a program where it's both ends. We're going to have a consumer and farmer membership program where the consumers sign up to, and they can get apparel and discounts, as well as when they get more people to sign up into the program, they'll get continued discounts. And I really believe it's almost like the ripple effect, where if you have more and more people coming on board and spreading the word on the consumer side, that's going to magnify versus just farmers trying to lead this. And then on the farmer side, the organization needs to be farmer led, where they have the control of it, because part of what happened in agriculture over the last 70 to 100 years is farmers let go of some control in agriculture. And because of that, I believe kind of went down that really centralized system. And with that, it's in this program, ultimately, the goal of it is to go from a very centralized agriculture system to a decentralized agriculture. And we're really just going to focus on that in just Minnesota right now. Use the funding and stuff to build the infrastructure to connect more farmers, and really just focus on the four main ones: eggs, animal proteins, flour, and milk, and then keep on adding on products. But it's this program that's coming out, I believe, is we're super excited for. The response we've been getting when we've been talking to people about it is they've been pretty excited. So we're excited to see where this will lead. So hopefully more farmers and people will get on board so we can do something about this current agriculture that we have. So I think next one. Yeah, and that's it. I'd be happy to answer any questions about how you can get started in agriculture or anything else, but I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. Yep, please check the Q&A. Any questions, please put them there, address them again to the farmer that you're reaching out to. And then we have next Joel Hendrickson with 10 Fins. Joel, I know there's some videos in here. Would you like me to just play them when they come up? You are also unmuted or muted.
Okay, you hear me now?
Yep, can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, you can display them as we get to them. So my name's Joel Hendrickson. I'm here with my daughter Maria, and we own and operate Ten Fins Creamery. We got the name Ten Fins Creamery. We had 10 children when we started, and we might have to rebrand now. We now have 13, but we we farm 440 acres of land, which is all organic. We milk about 150 cows, and we are in running fluid milk through our own creamery, and we are in multiple stores throughout Minnesota and even in Upper Michigan. And we recently got into schools, the school systems. We last year we started out supplying Monaga with milk, and now this year we got 9 schools that we are supplying milk to. You could click there, move to the
Yep.
next slide.
Did you want to show this video?
Sure.
All right. Hang on.
Moisture.
I've got it where we don't have ads.
Secret, these are tough times for dairy farms, but one small Minnesota operation is making a niche for itself with a new product. I visited the Hendrickson Dairy Farm to see how Ten Fins Creamery is helping those who can't drink milk.
Before we started this, I didn't realize how many people actually cannot drink milk.
If you've never heard of A2 milk, you're not alone. But Joel and Amanda Hendrickson are working to spread the word about its benefits. A1 is the protein found in milk that can cause gastric distress or even skin rashes. But the Hendricksons say most people can tolerate the A2 protein.
A lot of people that are diagnosed lactose intolerant that can drink A2 milk, I think they're A1 protein intolerant.
Joel grew up on a dairy farm. About 5 years ago, he read about something new called A2 milk. He started breeding and buying cows that only produce A2 milk, and in December, the Hendricksons started processing and selling it.
I didn't really also know very much about it, but the more we learned and the more people we heard that couldn't drink milk but could drink ours, the more that I was definitely supported it.
Yeah, we've been happy locally. It's been very good.
They milk 140 cows, and about 25% of their output is processed into A2 milk each week.
So it's been about 500 gallons a week is what we ran through our creamery.
The rest is sold to another dairy, which just mixes it in with regular milk. As demand grows, they hope to process more. With these days of uncertainty in the dairy industry, the Hendricksons hope A2 milk will help their operation grow now and for generations into the future.
Well, it's still so new, but I think it will. I think it will help, definitely. A future for our family, for our kids.
The Hendricksons say the taste and nutritional value of A2 milk is the same as any other milk. Oh, and the name 10 Fins? It's in honor of their 10 children, all 100% Finnish. 10 Fins milk is available at several stores in the Detroit Lakes area, and they're working to expand distribution as demand grows.
Is money.
All right. I don't hear any sound with this. Is there supposed to be?
No, it's
Okay.
just a little.
Perfect. All right. I'll let it go then. Feel free to talk over it.
So the history of us, we started farming in 2009, but we bought our farm here. Prior to that, we were renting a place and bought 15 acres here, and then it was just a yard site and a farm here. In 2017, we bought 295 acres of land, which was adjoining ours, and that's kind of how we got started on the organic. It was all in hybrid popples, and I figured that, man, this would be a perfect opportunity to see if I can farm our ground organically, and I kind of was a believer in that too. So we've been farming our land organically too. And then in 2019 is when we built our creamery and started bottling and selling A2 milk. Now we are, like I said, currently in multiple stores and supplying 9 schools. Move to the next slide.
Everyone loves milk, at least at first. And everyone needs protein and calcium. It makes you strong. But some nutrients are different than others, especially when it comes to milk. Cow's milk has been a favorite for a millennia. Easy to absorb nutrients are good for you. Cow's milk has 2 types of protein, whey and casein. Casein has 2 types of beta-casein, A1 and A2. In the past, cows only produced milk that contained the A2 protein. The same protein you liked as a baby, because A2 is the same protein found in human milk. Everyone was happy. But then a natural mutation happened in some cows, and their milk started to contain A1 protein in addition to A2 protein. Unfortunately, the A1 protein is not compatible with some people and causes discomfort. Thankfully, there is a safe way to test cows to see which protein their milk contains. And by only breeding cows that produce A2 milk, Minnesota has its first exclusively A2 herd and creamery. Now everyone can comfortably enjoy natural, real milk. Real milk, the way it used to be.
Go to the next. Okay, here we go. Yeah, our herd consists of Holsteins, and we have some Brown Swiss Holstein crosses. Like I said, we're milking about 130 to 150 cows. Our rolling herd average is about 24,700 with a 3.4 protein and 4.4 fat. Our whole milk, which we process, is whatever the cows produce. So it's right now about a 4.4, 4.6 butter fat. Standard whole milk in the store is 3.25. So I think we, because of our organic practices and leaving all the fat in it, I think we have a lot better product along with the A2. If you go to the next slide. We milk our cows twice a day in a swing 13 parlor. We have a 38 stall freestall barn. And we're the acreage is wrong. We got about 140 acres that we own. We're no longer renting anymore, and we do alfalfa. We've did some wheat. We have actually also kind of got into selling cash crops. We sold organic corn the last few years and also sold some organic wheat. You go to the next slide. Here's just our calf barn. The calves are weaned, taken away from their mom at about a day or two, and they're fed whole milk from the cows till they're about 2 months old, 2.5 months old. Then they go into another facility where they start getting weaned. You go to the next slide. Here's the other, once they're weaned, they come into this facility right here where they stay till they're about 400 or 500 pounds. Go to the next slide. They go out to a dry lot here. Summertime, they usually head off to pasture. Then wintertime, they spend most of their time in this dry lot right here. Once they get to be 600-700 pounders, they are then sent over to my uncle's, which is just across the field there where they are raised and come home as Springer heifers. Go to the next slide. This is where we keep our dry cows. As they get close, a couple weeks away from calving, we have a maternity pen in the back of the barn. We bring them in there where we can keep a closer eye, especially in the wintertime when it's 20 below out. Go to our next slide. Here's just a little clip of what our barn looks like. Freestyle barn with bedded with sawdust. They have a thick mat underneath that sawdust to give them comfort. We have fans and misters for summertime to keep them cool. You go to the next slide. Well, I guess I kind of covered that at the fans and the misters and set up on thermostats to keep them cooler in the summertime, and the mats and the sawdust to absorb the moisture. Go to our next slide. Here's just some of our feed storage. We still use our silos and our TMR mixer, which everything is mixed in daily and given a balanced ration to the cows. Go to the next slide. We do probably 3/4 of it is artificial insemination. We will keep a bull out of our best cows to do cleanup occasionally, or if when a person is busy, we'll put them in there. Here's just a little, here's our lagoon, which is across the road. All the lanes are scraped into a reception pit. It comes into here, and every spring we actually have pickers from Nimrod area. They come and inject the manure straight into the ground. So that is like on our corn, that's the only fertilizer we use is this liquid manure. We don't use anything else. Let's go to the next slide. I kind of talked about it. We are sustainable farming. We do the proper crop rotation where all of our land is all certified. So we just usually do maybe 2 years of corn, and we'll rotate in a crop of wheat or rye, and then maybe put it into alfalfa for 3-4 years. And so we're trying to do our proper crop rotation there. We go to the next slide. The creamery, we initially when we started, we were just selling to stores, and we went to like down. We were in Kowalski's down in the Twin Cities. We actually brought a cow down there, sitting right in St. Paul, and we gave samples of milk and let people come feed the calf. We brought one little calf along with us, trying to tell our story and build awareness of who we were and what we're doing. We would kind of see an uptick of sales, and then if you weren't there for a while, then it'd kind of taper off. And one issue we have with our product is that we only have a 16-day shelf life with milk. It's a perishable product, so it's got to get down there in a timely manner and move off the shelf. So now we have kind of 2 years ago we got into Monaga school. Now we're in a total of 9 schools this year, and the nice thing about that is you can go, say if we could get all the schools in a 50-mile radius, we could move all of our product. So you go to one location and drop off a lot of milk. And then you are not dealing with the shelf life issues so much there when you supply the schools, and like I said, a large volume in one area there. You go to the next slide. Let's kind of jump up to the next. These are just a few photos of our creamery. We chose to go with cardboard cartons instead of plastic. The equipment we bought, that's what it was, did cardboard half gallons. Our building is only a 40 by 42, so it's not a very big building. And when you do cardboard, you can have 150 cartons into a small little box. If we were, say, doing glass, you'd need a way bigger facility and a bottle washer and all this. You can see in the right slide there, there's our carton machine in front. In the back there is a HTSD pasteurizer. Those tubes running back and forth. Our milk, there's 4 types of pasteurizing. You got a vat pasteurizer, you got a HTSD, high temp, short time. You have a HHSD, higher heat, short time. And then you have a UHSD, that's the ultra heat. We chose to go with the high heat, short time, HTSD. We kind of tasted some milk from different creameries, which had the vats and the ultra pasteurized, and well, we wanted to keep it as close to raw milk as we could, and still be able to sell it in stores. And in our opinion, the milk of HTST is the closest thing to that. Our milk is pasteurized at 170. The minimum is 167. And it's held at that temp for 16 seconds, and then it's cooled back down. So in a matter of about 25 seconds, it goes from 38-degree raw milk, heated up to about 170, and then cooled back down. And we also chose to not homogenize our milk, so our cream will rise to the top. I think our milk is tastes the closest to raw milk as you can get in the stores. You can go to the next slide. We have whole milk, 2% chocolate, and we then, like I said, also are supplying the schools with skim. They can only have 1% is all they can have in the school. So we have 1% skim, and then skim chocolate, which we're supplying the schools with. Go to the next. Marketing, I kind of talked about that. We went to Kowalski's. We went to also Eldon's and Alexandria, the same thing. We brought a cow and set up right in front of the store and gave samples of milk there and told our story, and that's definitely been a big challenge, is the whole marketing side of it. I think that's on the next slide. Oh, here's a little community. We did a open house thing and had little horse rides around the farm, gave tours of the farm and the creamery, and trying to I guess spread our word and get our make awareness of who we are and what we're doing. Go to the next slide. We've had multiple different schools that have brought summer school groups over to see the farm, see the creamery. I think that's kind of fun when they can actually now come and see our creamery and see the farm, and they can actually see the place where their milk comes from, and it's the only farm that their milk's coming from. Go to the next slide. Challenges, like I kind of already talked about that a little bit. The challenges, we're dealing with a perishable product, which only has 16 days of shelf life. When we were in Kowalski's, our milk would Mason Brothers is a distributor at Hauser Milk, so it would go from Mason Brothers, and then Russ Davis would bring it down to Kowalski's. Well, we already had 6-7 days off the shelf life by the time it got there, and our milk, being pasteurized the way it is, only has a 16-day shelf life. So that has definitely been a challenge, is getting it to the stores, so they still have enough of a shelf life to move it. And then also being able to tell our story. We don't have millions like Kemp's and them to spend on TV ads and all that to tell our story. So that's why we kind of changed our focus to schools, just because of that reason. You can move a lot of product in say one town, and now we are currently kind of trying to figure out a few different things to do with our cream, possibly selling heavy whipped cream or getting into more butter. Go to the next slide. Yeah, I definitely like the farm just for the lifestyle. I'm right there working with my kids every day. It's our all we have is a niece who works for us, and my oldest son now has graduated, and he's also working for us. But other than that, it's all me and my wife and kids that do all the farming here. Go to the next slide. That's about it, I guess. Thanks for having us on, and if there's any questions, I'm willing to answer them now, or text or email or whatever.
Thank you. Yes. So we're going to take a few minutes now. We have about 12 minutes or so. And so we're going to go through any sort of questions that might be in the Q&A. I will stop screen sharing so we can I can at least better see. Okay. Megan, did you get a chance? Are you able to?
Yeah, I can go into the questions if you'd like.
Sure.
So we did have someone ask earlier, when Becky was talking, from the Hafner Family Farm. They asked, I'm curious if you have a website and how long after you started farming you decided to launch one. To what degree does your online presence help bring in new customers, if at all? And Becky answered, I have a website and started one soon after starting our farm. It is the most important thing to have, in her opinion. It is a landing page for customers to find you. Her online presence is probably half of their new customers, and the other half is word of mouth. Would anyone else, any of the other panelists, like to join in on that, whether you have a website and what degree your online presence helps? Feel free to just unmute yourself and talk. It looked like at least Joel Hendrickson has a website and Eden of Acres has a website. I think Jed is working on a website, I believe.
That is the goal eventually, but there's always 8,000 other things that get in front of it.
Right? Right. Totally. So word of mouth sounds like it's also very important and valuable for everyone. I feel like almost everyone mentioned that during their presentation. So, and I've learned that too in the basics of marketing. You like just bootstrapping it on the ground, face to face with people is always, I think, your number one way to connect with customers. And then we do have an open question for Jed. They asked, what are the requirements to sell your home processed poultry?
So the requirements on the home processed poultry is the bird has to be raised on the farm. They do ask you register with the Minnesota Department of Health that you're doing it, but there is not a requirement there. Of course, you have to provide a clean and sanitary location to do the processing. And then the sales have to be directly off of the farm. With the licensing or the processing we can't take birds to the farmer's market and sell them. We can get orders and they can come to the farm and get them. But currently, the way it's set up, you do have to basically have the customer come to the farm to pick up their finished product.
Great, thank you. And then Philip Stowe asks, for 10 fins, how long was the shelf life on the other forms of pasteurization, if you know?
Well, I know like vat pasteurized milk is typically about the same 14 to 18 days. The HHST pasteurized stuff, I think gets a little longer. They're around 24, a little over 20 days. And then you have the ultra pasteurized stuff, which gives it a 2 month shelf life, which in my opinion, they kill everything good in it. It's cooked at 280 degrees for 3 seconds at that point.
Great. Very, very interesting to hear the differences. Thank you, Joel. And then another question for you. Will there be an ice cream mix in the future? Nice smile.
We've been asked that a lot. I don't know what to say. As far as us making ice cream, we would need a bigger facility, but as far as just to make an ice cream mix to sell to others, that would be definitely a possibility. That'd be easy for us to do. It'd just be using our cream, milk, mixing up the mix and pasteurizing it and selling it to somebody else. That definitely could be done, but yeah, not as far as us making ice cream. I can't see it like in the near future here, but
Okay, great. And then I had a couple of questions I'll go through. Becky, how much time do you spend at your markets versus online? kind of following up from that one question about your website.
Spend at farmers markets or what?
Yeah,
at-
like how much time are you spending like selling your food at a market versus the time that you make with like online orders?
Oh, okay. Um, it might actually be less just going to a farmer's market, if I sit there for 3 hours plus drive time, 4 hours. But like direct marketing, I guess the order comes in, I gotta pack the order, I gotta deliver the order. Honestly, it's probably less time at a farmer's market, but my sales through an online order and my deliveries will be a greater dollar amount than at the farmer's market.
Okay, interesting. And then Jed, I had a question. Did you always offer non-GMO or transitional grain and feed once you got into that, or was there a period where you decided to change? And if you did, why? Just curious to know a little bit more about that.
We've rotated back and forth. Our beef operation was all standard, conventional, modern corn stuffs. Our hog operation was 100% non-GMO feeds, farrow to finish here on the farm. But like I said, we're not doing that anymore due to storm damage. And our poultry line, we offer two different lines actually. Again, this year. Last year we only did one. This year we're going to be doing two. A little lesser expensive conventional chicken line, and then a transitional non-GMO line of the broiler birds. And that's due to customer requests. We went back and forth. We used to do it, and the sales disappeared for the non-GMO line. And now again, in the last year and a half, there's been a lot more requests for it again. So, and that's being adaptable to your market. We're changing, and the connections I have allow me to be able to switch back and forth on a fairly short notice and as needed, and change my marketing as required.
Great answer. Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, it is a flux, I'm sure, constantly. It looks like we have a question that just came in to all producers. So if anyone wants to answer this, go ahead and just unmute and start talking. Did you hire your website to be created, or did you create it yourself? And do you use a third party for sales and marketing, such as Barn to Door?
I can share. I did my own website, and that's based on teaching myself. I don't have any education in that. And I don't use any of those apps or whatever. I just have a Google form on my website, and I actually like that because I can easily adjust that myself just from my phone. And I like that everything is in a simple list. Myself, when I look at those like Barn, whatever, the different apps, I don't like that you got to scroll the pages forever and look at everything like that. I think people just want a fast order. Like we're not shopping on Amazon. They just want to click what they want fast, and they can do that on an order form faster, in my opinion, than scrolling through those apps.
Great answer. Anyone else want to go chime in on that at all? If you do online sales? Okay. I had a question for you, Joel Hagen. Are you currently, when you mentioned your hub and spoke program, is this something that you're still in the process of creating, or do you know when it's going to be kicking off and becoming more publicly known, or do you have any more information about it anywhere? It was certainly interesting to me.
Yeah, we're still in the process of creating it. We're hoping maybe within a month or two to launch it is kind of our goal. Sometime here this spring. So we're kind of it's going to be a lot geared to the website, and so we're just trying to make sure all those systems work and flow and everything else. Beyond what I know, I don't know anything about technology, so having that done, but it takes time. So.
Sure. So once it does become available, you're saying the best way to learn more info is to go straight to your website, and it'll be built into that.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Everything will be available on the website. So.
Awesome. Great. And I had a question for you, Joel Hendrickson. Can you kind of go back to explaining a little bit how you are using the mats and the coolers for the cows, and is there an ideal temperature for dairy cows to help with milk production?
Well, dairy cows definitely would like it cooler than warmer. Ideal temp, I would say, is anywhere from 30 to 50 would be the ideal temp for them, you know. So we, yeah, our, as I said, on those misters and fans, they're all set up on thermostats, and once it gets to a certain temp, the fans will start. Once it gets to another temp, the misters will start going, and we keep them in there during the day. Then at night, they can kind of come or go out on pasture and go back in the barn and eat and.
Okay, great. Wow. Yeah, that's fun. Definitely cooler than I was expecting to hear. So that's really interesting. I can imagine during the summer it can be a little challenging to keep them happy.
Yeah, that's why the misters by the bunks keep them eating and keep them they're right by the bunks, so it keeps them coming to the feed, which keeps them milking.
Right. It looks like we do have one more question for you, from Scott, one of our, actually, yeah, our committee members here. Is your milk labeled organic?
No, it is not, because my cows are not certified organic, but my crops are certified organic. So I just haven't taken that step to do that. I don't know if I will. It's if cows are fed the right way, you don't have to treat them anyway. They kind of take care of themselves, you know. But no, it's not labeled organic. So there's probably a lot of people. Maybe that's a negative to us. Lots probably don't even really realize that the majority of my cows' diet is organic. If you look at our website, it kind of explains that. But
Right, right.
We have one more question that came in the Q&A. If you have, and we are at almost time, so we'll have this one. We'll ask this one, and then if anyone else, if you have any other questions, feel free to put it in, and we will be sure that we get that answered and sent out to you with our recap email. But someone would like to know, what are the USDA requirements to sell to the public, and then any sort of requirements for deliveries? This is for anyone.
For myself, I guess I work with the MDA and I'm licensed mobile retail. And I guess I have NSF rated freezers and I'm inspected. I pay my license fee. I use a state inspected butcher, which you can use state or USDA inspected. Everything's labeled with my name and all that. And then, yeah, my animals are all inspected at slaughter.
Does anyone
I
else want
guess
to touch? Go for it.
I guess for myself, our creamery is inspected 4 times a year, and monthly they take product samples of everything we are processing in our creamery, send it into a lab to be tested. And then all your records, they go when they come out and inspect the creamery, they go through all your records. You're required to do keep an antibiotic log, like before you process any milk, whether it's even if you're organic producer or conventional producer, you have to take a sample of milk and test it for antibiotics. So you have an antibiotic log. All that stuff has to be kept for 3 years, and also like charts for our pasteurizer. They are supposed to be kept for 3 years. That way, if anybody ever said, "Well, they got sick because of my milk," that's basically my legal proof that I did everything correctly. So yeah, that's all that's required of us, I guess. Sold in schools and stores.
Anything from you, Joel or Jed?
As far as like requirements for my operation, the threshold's about 3,000 birds. The state wants to start inspecting, so that's laying hens. We're not quite there yet. We got, little pullets and stuff, so we don't have to deal with that quite yet. We're all set up to deal with it when we get to that stage. So.
Yeah, and also we do run under the exemption. We don't hit the bird layer numbers for the layers or the bird numbers yet for the meat birds. So we so far just operate under the custom exemption.
Good to know. Well, we are at time and a little over, so thank you all for for those who have stayed. We really appreciate all of you being here. For all of our presenters, thank you so much. And for everyone who joined to watch, thank you so much for being here. We will send out a recording and any sort of resources in the Q&A that folks may have after this. So thank you all for joining, and we hope to see you next week.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of